The difference between. We will help you navigate life's subtle nuances. For example, do you know the difference between apple juice and apple cider? Cider is what you get when you remove all the liquid from pressed apples. Sometimes it's given a quick filtering before bottling to remove some pulp, naturally occurring yeast, and other solid material. But most of that stuff is usually left in there. Apple juice is cider that has been processed to remove the sediment and then pasteurized for a longer shelf life. Do you know the difference between an ocean and a sea? Geographically speaking, both are large bodies of salt water. Seas are smaller than oceans. They are partially landlocked, but they feed into an ocean. The Bering Sea is part of the Pacific Ocean, for example, and the Mediterranean Sea in Europe makes its way into the Atlantic Ocean via the Strait of Gibraltar. Do you know the difference between ale and lager? Generally speaking, ales are thick, heavily flavored beers, as opposed to lagers, crisp, thin, and light. Craft beers such as porters, stouts, and IPAs are ales. Budweiser and Corona are lagers. The difference between the two depends on the type of yeast used in the brewing process. Ales use yeast that ferments on the top of the batch, brewed in warm water. Lager is made with cold fermented, bottom-feeding yeast, which also means it takes longer to brew. Do you know the difference between jail and prison? Usually under the jurisdiction of a city or county. A jail is a temporary detention facility where suspects are held overnight after being arrested, but they can be held there indefinitely if they are unable to post bail or if they are deemed dangerous or a flight risk. Then they will be kept in a jail until their trial date. If convicted and sentenced to prison, the felon is taken to prison, a larger, more permanent facility located far from major population centers. Do you know the difference between a geek and a nerd? While both terms are used to describe socially maladjusted or awkward individuals, they aren't the same thing. Geeks are smart, studious, and obsessive about their intellectual pursuits and passions. Nerds, on the other hand, are obsessed with stuff they like, sometimes to the detriment of their social awkwardness. A tech billionaire is more likely to be a geek, while someone with a collection of Star Wars toys, still in the original packaging, is a nerd. Do you know the difference between a bank and a credit union? Banks are for-profit institutions, whereas credit unions are not for profit. That's why you are a customer of a bank, but an owner or member of a credit union. Members get to vote for a credit union's board of directors, and any profits go into keeping interest rates low and serving the community. Banks' profits go directly to the shareholders. You know the difference between a divorce and an annulment? You can't get divorced if you were never really married in the first place. That's where an annulment comes in. A divorce legally ends a marriage that was entered into willingly and considered valid under the law. But sometimes marriages are ruled invalid for reasons such as bigamy, coercion, or if one or both parties were intoxicated. In that case, a court would issue an annulment. Like a divorce, an annulment dissolves a union, but from a legal standpoint, it acts as if the ill-fated marriage never happened at all. All those that would like to get in on the next game, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell and select all so that you'll be notified when we drop our next video.